Imagine for a moment that there is a hidden religion, lost in time, capable of changing everything you believe about the supernatural, Gnosticism, and the invisible forces that shape the world. A cult so ancient that it challenges the very fabric of history. Now, here's the question: what if the truth you are unaware of is scarier than any nightmare? This is not just a fictional tale or a cinematic shock. It is a dangerous enigma, wrapped in pacts and rituals, connected to entities that defy any mundane logic. Stay with me, because by the end of this text, you will understand why Nyarlathotep is humanity's darkest secret. The origin of the cult of Nyarlathotep dates back to around 11,000 years ago, at the dawn of civilization. What makes this fascinating is that everything points to Göbekli Tepe, one of the world's first religious sanctuaries. Excavations at the site uncovered enigmatic symbols that, to the discerning eye, suggest a link to primordial chaos. Strange stone-carved figures appear to represent supernatural entities, perhaps even demons. Imagine, dear reader, that these figures could be the first indications of humanity attempting to comprehend esotericism and the occult. Göbekli Tepe is a place that seems to hide more questions than answers. Among the monumental columns, archaeologists found patterns that could represent ancient rituals, dedicated to mysterious entities. Here's something to reflect on: what if these rituals were not just symbolism, but genuine invocations? You may have never heard of this before, but it's fascinating to imagine that modern cults could be echoes of these ancient practices. Explore interactive maps or read about this sanctuary, as it is a window into humanity's first steps into the supernatural. What is most intriguing about Göbekli Tepe is how it challenges conventional theories about the evolution of human spirituality. Before this period, it was believed that religion emerged after the development of agriculture. However, this sanctuary suggests that the desire to connect with the occult and the supernatural may have been the initial driving force. Imagine the impact of this: men and women gathering for pacts and cults under the stars, searching for answers in the chaos they saw in the world around them. It's almost as if we were programmed to seek the unknown. The location of Göbekli Tepe is also no mere coincidence. Situated in a region crucial to human evolution, it seems a strategic point for cultural interactions. Some experts suggest that the symbols found there could be precursors to written languages. Think about that: a ritual carved in stone, an invocation transformed into writing. What could this mean? If you wish to understand more about these symbols, look for linguistic studies connected to Gnosticism. You might be surprised by the influence these inscriptions still have today. If we consider modern times, it's interesting how places like Göbekli Tepe continue to evoke such fascination and mystery. Modern visitors often report feeling a strange energy at the site. Could it be a supernatural manifestation, or is it just our minds playing tricks on us? For those who believe in pacts with the beyond, this could be the perfect place to attempt a connection. But beware, what you may invoke is not always friendly. Have you ever felt that pull toward ancient places? Perhaps it's time to explore these sanctuaries in search of your own answers. From Göbekli Tepe come not only questions but also an insatiable curiosity. If a site like this exists, what else might be hidden beneath the sands of time? Some speculate that there are other archaeological sites, still to be discovered, that could deepen our understanding of this enigmatic cult. How about starting your own journey of discovery? Research documentaries about esoteric archaeology or books on the mysteries of the ancient world. Perhaps the next secret is waiting for someone like you to uncover it. The mythological connections involving the cult of Nyarlathotep are as deep as the foundations of civilization itself. Sumerian and Babylonian texts, such as those found on clay tablets, recount celestial battles between gods and chaotic entities. Have you ever heard of Tiamat, the dragon of chaos? She is described as a primordial force that defied divine order, directly echoing the themes found at Göbekli Tepe. Interestingly, these stories are not just mere legends. For many, they are interpretations of rituals and pacts made in an attempt to control supernatural forces. Sumerian gods like Enki and Enlil often faced threats that could very well be metaphors for chaotic entities. In one of these narratives, the invocation of hidden powers to create order stands out. Imagine a ritual where ancient priests sought protection or wisdom from the depths of the unknown. Even today, many practitioners of the occult draw inspiration from these stories to develop their own practices. How about exploring the creation myths of Babylon? These texts offer deep insights into the relationship between humanity and the supernatural. Another fascinating aspect is how these mythologies seem to transcend boundaries. Accounts of Nyarlathotep often describe him as an emissary of chaos, a figure who could have influenced how ancient peoples understood cosmic forces. Is it a coincidence that such distant civilizations share similar archetypes? If you're interested, try comparing myths like the Babylonian Enuma Elish with the Egyptian Book of the Dead texts. You will find that, in many cases, chaotic entities not only symbolize destruction but also renewal and transformation. These mythological connections may seem disconnected at first glance, but there is an intriguing pattern. Ancient rituals often involved the use of symbols, chants, and gestures that created a form of collective energy. Have you ever wondered how these methods could be applied today? Many modern cults still practice variations of these traditions, whether through meditations or even ceremonial pacts. How about trying a simple exercise? Create a sacred space in your home and experiment with meditative practices based on these ancient rituals to understand their energy. We cannot ignore the role of scriptures in preserving these echoes of a distant past. The legends of gods and demons, documented thousands of years ago, seem to whisper the existence of something greater, something beyond our immediate understanding. Perhaps this is why these texts still fascinate both scholars and esotericists. If you're curious, explore modern translations of these stories, such as the Book of Enki or the Epic of Gilgamesh. They offer more than just tales, they are guides to understanding the power of Gnosticism and the invocation of higher entities. Finally, think about how these myths have shaped not only ancient cultures but also contemporary beliefs. The influence of Sumerian occultism can be seen in modern spiritual practices, where symbols and purification rituals are recreated in esoteric ceremonies. Could it be that by diving into these traditions, you too could unlock a connection with ancestral forces? It's intriguing to think that something so ancient still pulses in our collective psyche, waiting to be explored. How do you connect with myths and legends? Perhaps now is the time to discover how these stories can expand your spiritual horizon. In ancient Egypt, the cult of chaos took on an enigmatic face, the so-called Black Pharaoh. This figure, shrouded in mystery, led secret rituals that seemed to invoke forces beyond human comprehension. Described in mythological accounts and ancient engravings, the Black Pharaoh would be a direct manifestation of Nyarlathotep, acting as his intermediary in the mortal world. These rituals involved enigmatic chants and sacrifices that, it is said, opened portals to the supernatural. Imagine the dark corridors of the pyramids resounding with forbidden chants, while priests sought pacts with chaotic entities to protect or subjugate their people. The role of the Black Pharaoh goes beyond that of a mere ruler. He is often portrayed as a manipulator, someone who knew how to use Gnosticism to achieve his goals. In texts like the Book of the Dead, there are mentions of rituals that may have been inspired or guided by this figure. To better understand, consider the impact of someone with access to such forbidden knowledge. Have you ever thought about the power that occultism could offer someone in that position? Imagine the impact of a leader who not only ruled but also mastered supernatural forces. One practice attributed to the Black Pharaoh was the direct invocation of demons, especially during times of crisis. Stories tell of him performing ceremonies in isolated temples, where only the most loyal initiates could witness the event. Were these rituals a way to manipulate reality, or simply a means of inspiring fear and devotion? It is curious to think that such ancient practices echo even today. If you wish to explore Egyptian rituals, look for works like the Mysteries of Isis, which reveal the complexities of these traditions. There is something fascinating about how Egypt connected chaos with renewal. The rituals of the Black Pharaoh often sought to balance these forces, as if chaos were necessary to generate order. One example of this is the concept of Ma'at, the Egyptian idea of universal harmony. But imagine the paradox: to achieve order, they invoked chaos through pacts with supernatural entities. This theme appears in many occult philosophies, and perhaps it's something you can reflect on in your own life. How can chaos be a catalyst for transformation? Even in more recent stories, echoes of this dark figure persist. Some theorists suggest that the Black Pharaoh may have inspired legendary characters in other cultures. In Greek myths, for example, the god Hades shares certain characteristics with him. Moreover, it is fascinating how the iconography associated with the Black Pharaoh, a dark cloak, a hypnotic gaze, resonates even today in representations of occult figures. If you want to explore further, I recommend reading about Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh, who many believe dabbled in esoteric practices unusual for his time. Finally, the Black Pharaoh symbolizes more than just chaos. He represents the relentless pursuit of power through the unknown. This intriguing figure continues to be a subject of fascination in modern discussions of esotericism and occultism. Think about the implications of someone who understood the supernatural so deeply that he was able to shape his civilization around it. Could we learn something from these methods, or are they too dangerous to revisit? Leave this question open as we continue to explore how these ideas connected with Greek and Roman cultures. The Greek and Roman worlds also held their own echoes of the Nyarlathotep cult. In Plato's dialogues, there are veiled references to forces of chaos that shaped the cosmic order. Aristotle, in his metaphysical writings, explored how chaos was a precursor to creation. Have you ever imagined that these ancient thinkers might have been touching on concepts that went beyond common philosophy? Some lesser-known texts, such as the Sibylline oracles, mention rituals that, according to theorists, have a strong connection to occult pacts made to access divine power. Pliny the Elder, one of the greatest Roman historians, is another figure who offers fascinating insights. He describes secret ceremonies held in caves and isolated forests, where participants sought protection from supernatural forces or a way to manipulate them. It's curious to think how these practices continue to influence modern occult traditions. Try reading Pliny's writings. His work Natural History is a true treasure trove of knowledge, where the boundaries between science, mythology, and occultism blend in an intriguing way. In Greek theater, the concept of chaos was also often dramatized. Tragedies like those by Aeschylus and Sophocles explored themes that resonate with the archetypes of destruction and renewal found in the cult. Is it a coincidence that the term catharsis, so central to theater, also refers to purification through the experience of chaos? Consider how this concept might be applied today, perhaps in meditations or personal rituals. Study plays like Prometheus Bound, where the struggle between order and disorder is as clear as the forces invoked by Nyarlathotep. The Romans, in turn, had their own interpretations. Mysterious cults like that of Mithras, practiced in secret, included complex rituals that seem inspired by older practices. These rituals sought enlightenment through confrontation with chaos. Have you ever thought about how such an enigmatic practice could transform your way of seeing life? Today, there are studies and groups revisiting these traditions, adapting them to the modern context. A good starting point would be to explore academic works on the Mithraic mysteries and their connections to occultism. The influence of Nyarlathotep in Greek and Roman cultures should not be underestimated. Although veiled, its presence is felt in the way these societies understood the cosmos. References to invocations and pacts, even if symbolic, suggest a deep belief in the interaction between humans and supernatural entities. Could understanding these practices help us unlock something about our own hidden desires? Reflect on how you might use this knowledge in your spiritual journey. Is it time to explore the unknown in search of answers? While the Greek and Roman worlds offered a more rational approach to chaos, their practices and myths frequently returned to the spiritual element. This duality, logic and mystery, resonates strongly with Gnosticism and esotericism. Who knows, by diving into these teachings, you might find the balance between reason and the supernatural. As we explore the impact of Christianity on these traditions, think about the richness of these cultural parallels and how they shape our current beliefs. With the rise of Christianity, many ancient traditions, including those involving the worship of chaotic entities like Nyarlathotep, faced strong opposition. Priests and theologians of the early centuries worked to eradicate any practice that invoked pacts, invocations, or rituals that deviated from Christian doctrine. Texts by figures such as Tertullian and Augustine describe the followers of these sects as heretics who challenged divine order. Imagine living in a world where these practices were carried out in secret, in caves or abandoned ruins, to escape the Church's scrutiny. The shadows were their sanctuary, and the night, their ally. The Christian councils, such as the one at Nicaea, set clear parameters for what was considered acceptable in the faith. However, stories of cults that revered occult forces continued to persist, especially in more isolated regions. Think of the figure of the Inquisition, which arose centuries later. One of the main targets of this movement was exactly these groups seeking forbidden knowledge. The idea of invoking the supernatural for power seemed a direct affront to divine sovereignty. If you wish to understand this context better, works like the Malleus Maleficarum offer a grim look at how these practices were persecuted. Although the Church suppressed many practices, it could not completely erase occult traditions. These beliefs found refuge in small communities where Gnosticism continued to thrive. Imagine a hermit in a distant forest, whispering ancient chants by candlelight, seeking guidance from supernatural entities. These individuals were seen as witches or mystics, perpetuating rituals from forgotten times. If you believe there is truth in these accounts, perhaps exploring the legends of European witches might reveal more about how these practices survived the eradication attempts. Furthermore, the Christian doctrine itself absorbed, in some cases, elements of these traditions. Many saints, for example, were syncretized with gods or esoteric figures. Christian symbolism often reflects concepts of order and chaos, suggesting an eternal struggle between light and darkness. The iconography of demons in medieval art, with their grotesque forms, closely resembles the descriptions of entities invoked in ancient rituals. Have you ever visited a Gothic cathedral and noticed the gargoyles? Many believe these figures were inspired by accounts of entities like Nyarlathotep. Despite Christian efforts to suppress these practices, echoes of the cult persisted in the esoteric movements of the Renaissance. Philosophers like Giordano Bruno, who flirted with Hermetic and occult ideas, revived part of this knowledge. They believed that access to supernatural power was possible through pacts and rituals, openly challenging the Church. If you wish to delve deeper into this period, I recommend exploring the writings of Cornelius Agrippa, one of the greatest Renaissance occultists. He combines elements of ancient occultism with Christian and philosophical interpretations. The clash between Christianity and occult cults shaped the spiritual history of humanity, leaving scars and mysteries that still resonate today. While the Church sought to control the divine, these groups hid, protecting their secrets and rituals. It is fascinating to think that these practices, as ancient as civilization itself, still find space to flourish in our days. And now, we move forward to explore the impact of the cult in the modern era. How have these ideas been reformulated and adapted? Discover more about secret societies and their connections to the supernatural. In the modern era, stories about Nyarlathotep and his cult have taken on a more mysterious tone. Many believe these traditions have survived in secret societies such as the Illuminati or the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Think of the rumors of clandestine meetings where influential leaders invoke supernatural forces in search of power. Do these rumors have any truth to them? Organizations like Freemasonry are often cited in theories related to pacts and occult rituals. While there is no concrete evidence, the fascination with the topic continues to attract curious individuals and esoteric practitioners. The cultural impact of the cult is also evident in literature and cinema. Works like those of H.P. Lovecraft explore the figure of Nyarlathotep as a cosmic entity that toys with human sanity. These stories popularized the concept that chaotic forces could manipulate humanity for unknown purposes. Have you read The Call of Cthulhu? While fictional, the book raises profound questions about the fragility of the mind in the face of the incomprehensible. These ideas influenced a new generation of occult scholars and even contemporary religious movements. There are also those who believe the cult of Nyarlathotep never completely disappeared. They point to inexplicable events, such as disappearances and supernatural phenomena, as evidence that the rituals continue. Imagine a closed circle of powerful individuals, gathered to invoke entities and shape the fate of the world. While this may sound like the plot of a movie, the reality could be even more disturbing. If you're curious, books like The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall offer a fascinating view of the esoteric traditions that persist to this day. Advances in science and technology have also brought new ways of interpreting occultism. Quantum physics, for example, raises questions about the nature of reality that align with ancient esoteric ideas. Could rituals influence dimensions beyond our understanding? Many modern practitioners have adapted these traditions to a scientific context, seeking to combine mysticism with reason. Have you heard of quantum meditations? Some believe they are a contemporary way to access the supernatural. Still, the cult remains shrouded in mystery, attracting both skeptics and believers. For some, it is a relic of the past; for others, it is a hidden truth waiting to be revealed. Think of the number of people still seeking the supernatural, whether through spiritism, magic, or ceremonial pacts. It's curious how the desire to access something greater transcends cultures and eras. Perhaps you have felt this curiosity yourself and are exploring ways to connect with the esoteric. As we reflect on the impact of the cult in the modern era, one question remains: how far are we willing to go to access the power of the unknown? Whether through secret societies, conspiracy theories, or individual rituals, the legacy of Nyarlathotep lives on. It is fascinating to think that, in such an advanced world, we still turn to ancient practices in search of answers. Are you ready to explore this journey? If so, the first step is to keep learning and questioning. Now that you've made it this far, the knowledge you've gained about the cult of Nyarlathotep and its connections to esotericism, occultism, and ancient practices must have sparked something deep within you. The forces of chaos and order have always been intertwined, shaping the civilizations and beliefs we hold today. The history of this cult, from the earliest traces found at Göbekli Tepe to modern-day speculations, offers a fascinating perspective on how the occult and the supernatural influence humanity. And the question that arises now is, are you ready to apply this knowledge in your life, explore these mysteries, and perhaps even challenge them? Have you ever wondered if the deepest secrets can be found within yourself, just as in ancient rituals? Now it's your turn to dive even deeper. How can you incorporate this wisdom and these teachings into your personal journey? Is there something in your life that you need to invoke in order to transform? What are you willing to discover about what lies beyond the visible reality? If you're curious and want to continue your search for more knowledge and mysteries, subscribe to the channel for more revealing content. Leave the keyword invocation in the comments to activate the manifestation of desires and prosperity in your life. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because what's coming next will be even deeper and more transformative.